Live from the heart of Baylor Bear Country, the most comprehensive pregame coverage. This is Game Day Live, powered by Sikkim 365 and KWTX News 10.
It probably will be the last time that Baylor and Texas ever play in football unless somehow down the road there's a bowl game or maybe a college football playoff game. Good afternoon. Over 100 times that Baylor and Texas have met. Baylor has had a pretty good run the last decade and a half. And tonight at 6:30 at home against Texas, ranked number 3 in the country in one poll, they will play at McLean Stadium. I'm David Smoak with Paul Catalina and Craig Smoak. Garrett Ross runs the mothership. We're going to hear from Darby Brown here in a moment. Also update you on games in the Big 12 and the top 25. Paul, let's discuss Baylor and Texas. We all gave the predictions. Some said, well, I just feel like it's going to happen. And then I just said, what's reality is that Texas does not turn it over. They've had 1 in 3 games. To me, that's the one way Baylor, if in fact Texas was to kind of just throw up on themselves and create and just cough it up 2 or 3 times.
Baylor has to play with sustained fire and confidence today, which is something they have not been able to do. There's always kind of a different reason that things come apart for them during the losing streak, during even in Long Island game where they won the game and ended their losing streak. It was still not, it was a kind of uneven, uninspired performance. They've got to it's the Texas Longhorns. It's the last time a good chunk of the stadium is going to be dressed out in burnt orange. It is going to be a weird atmosphere, to say the least. The students are sold out, so that's going to be loud and crazy for them to have a chance. But they've got to do things right, and they've got to play with confidence, which they have not done in quite a long time.
Yeah, it's bittersweet. I think it's cool that we're going to see some history, but also it's kind of sad, right? That especially if you're on the Baylor side, I know Texas fans aren't probably too, depressed about the fact they don't have to play Baylor again. But I think for Baylor faithful, and I'm sure there are some Texas folks as well that love history or have family connections or whatever. It's sad that these two, may not ever meet again and certainly won't ever meet again, most likely at McLean Stadium unless it's a 2-for-1 type of a deal years down the line. But it should be an incredible atmosphere. Don't know how much will be green and gold as compared to burnt orange, but I think it's going to be a lively, great few hours out at McLean and certainly a night that we will remember no matter the outcome. But for Baylor to make it a happy outcome for the home crowd, they're going to have to take and bottle up the best stretch of football they played. Maybe you would look back to Utah and just little spurts of that game.
Yep, first
bottle
half
that
especially,
up and stretch that out over 4 quarters and play the best game you possibly played. Texas is not unbeatable. Texas isn't, an absolute juggernaut that's incapable of making mistakes or not playing well. But they are, I think, so much more talented and overall well-rounded that Baylor's going to have to be near their best or at their best.
They have several players that can score every time they touch the football, and Baylor's not been able to get the ball in the hands of those who do that. Obviously, with Sawyer Robertson staying again at the quarterback with Blake Shapen out this week. We're now joined by Darby Brown at McLean Stadium from KWTX. It is Texas and Baylor, and Darby, the last time they play, and just your thoughts, kind of reminiscing. I know you haven't been a part of too many of them, but you understand the rivalry, and reminiscing about this could be the last one and most likely will be.
Yeah, I think I've been around for the last 4, and honestly, the thing that I've been thinking about a lot is in those last 4, it's been pretty even, right? Baylor's won here on their own turf. Austin, Texas has won in Austin. So it's been pretty evenly split here. Now it does feel like there's a bit of a lopsided situation. Obviously, Texas is the 3rd ranked team in the country, and Baylor is off to a slower start than they would like to be. But the emotions will definitely be high. I think if Baylor doesn't come out on fire for this game, when are we ever going to see this team on fire, right? I mean, they have to play up for this one. So you hope that energy comes out really on all sides, and you hope that this is just a great game, I would say, for any college football fan watching and anyone that understands that this is the start of the goodbye tour for the Longhorns and kind of wrapping up a series that has meant a lot to, the Baylor fans especially.
Darby, Baylor has also not started fast this year, and you would think that they're going to have to get a lead at some point in this game early. Otherwise, that confidence could be shaken again.
Yeah, last week I was up there in the press. I mean, everybody that was here, I think, was thinking, where is the energy? It was so flat in here. And, Baylor's going to have to come out looking like a very different team. They talked about how during that very, very long halftime last week, they were really blasting music and just having a good time. I mean, I think that is the plan, honestly. And I kind of talked to the players this week. It sounds like they have a good playlist, and maybe that'll sort of do it for them. Whatever works with this young group to try to get them to to be energized when they roll out here. But yeah, they're going to have to start strong. And honestly, Texas had a slower start last week. I don't know how many of us got to watch it. I personally didn't. I don't have the Longhorn Network. But I know it was a slower start for them too. So, maybe there's a little bit of, Baylor will be able to kind of get off to a good start here, and maybe the Texas team will be a little sluggish as well. But they're going to have to start strong. I mean, when it comes down to it, I think that there's a lot of threats that Quinn Ewers poses with his deep shots down the field, down the sideline. That's the stuff that Baylor's got to try to avoid, or they're going to get exposed, especially in that young secondary.
Darby, just in terms of, hearing and being around the media sessions, but also just around town and folks' conversation, do you feel the buzz of this week? I mean, do you get a sense that this is a different type of a game than the last couple have been, and maybe a lot of others that we've seen? Does it feel kind of like there's a little something special in the air, if you will, as far as the build-up to tonight?
Yeah, I think that there is a lot of hype. I mean, you can look at the ticket prices alone have been really, high. This has been a game that people want to come to. Now, I am curious, I think, as everyone is, what percentage of the crowd is going to be wearing burnt orange versus that green and gold. But I think, it definitely has been hyped up this week, rightfully so. And hopefully it's just a good night. It's a night game, rare, more rare these days with everything with the TV schedule. So I think that it's going to be a good atmosphere, and I've felt the energy so far. So hopefully it's a great game. Hey,
Darby, thank you very much for being a part of this pregame when you are every week, and KWTX, but also we'll have you again at the end. And by then, of course, some of the atmosphere starts to even get more electric. That's Darby Brown from KWTX at McLean Stadium. Let's look at a couple of the scores right now. Let's go to the Big 12. A couple of games have just gone to halftime. First of all, Brigham Young leads at Kansas. BYU leads at Kansas. That's going to be hard for 17-14. West Virginia just added a field goal to lead Tech 13-3, and Tyler Shuck, the Tech starting quarterback, went down with an apparent leg injury, had a brace on his leg, his left leg. That's 13-3 Mountaineers. Iowa State, Oklahoma State, our early second quarter in that game is tied at 14 apiece. Oklahoma beat Cincinnati. You guys comment on this, 20-6. OU, Dylan Gabriel, 322 yards passing a score, and TCU hammered. And SMU, they kind of dictated the tempo here, 34-17. Chandler Morris throws 3 touchdown passes. Amani Bailey, 126 yards rushing and a touchdown.
Yeah, I think for Oklahoma, they've shown tremendous development on defense. And, Emory Jones, his problem is always turning the ball over, turn it over twice, and Oklahoma capitalized. Cincinnati's defense really didn't let Oklahoma get as loose as they wanted to, but OU looked pretty good, and I'm really kind of surprised at the way that – I'm not surprised that TCU won the game, even though I would have picked SMU just because if I had, Taylor McCarr kind of sold me on Preston Stone versus Chandler Morris, but TCU dictated the tempo of that game from start to finish, so I was surprised that that's how that went.
Yeah, I wasn't necessarily I mean, I know Taylor had a lot of love for him. I wasn't necessarily buying that heavy, though, of the Preston Stone love, just respectfully, but that was a nice win for TCU to win it convincingly. Had to, pull away there in the second half of what was otherwise a tight game, but separate they did, and that's a really good win for them. And they're now 3-1. I mean, despite that Colorado loss, they're in good shape. Oklahoma, the defense is better. It's clearly better. The offense, give credit to Cincinnati's defense. They're going to give some teams in the Big 12 problems, but unfortunately their offense is just not up to snuff. Whether it was Ben Bryant last year, it's Emory Jones this year, Cincinnati's offense just is not quite at the level that it needs to be. And you could tell there's some differences in the athletes and just kind of the whole deal, right? And that's to be expected when, Cincy's making a step up and Oklahoma's been at the level that they've been at. That wasn't totally surprising. As far as what's going on right now, I mean, BYU's got a lead over Kansas. BYU's, they go in Lawrence and win this game. You got to start getting real serious about them being at 4-0. Although it's a tight game right now, we'll see how that goes. West Virginia up 10. Like you said, Tyler Shuck's dinged up, and it looks like it could be a lot more than just a ding, unfortunately for him. So Baron Morton's the guy now, and we'll see what Tech can do to try and dig out of a hole. But this would obviously be a massive win for Neil Brown at home in Morgantown. And then, Oklahoma State and Iowa State, 14 apiece. two teams that can play defense but can't really do much on offense have actually put up some points. And so this is a bit more of a shootout. That's early second quarter, so that's a lot of points for these two teams to have up at this point. So, yeah, that's not a shootout that I was expecting, but sounds like it's a fun game brewing there in Ames, Iowa.
We're going to look at the history between Baylor and Texas dating back to the first time they played. It's been over 100 times. But a couple other notes. These are finals. Well, wait a minute. Oregon at halftime leads Colorado 28-0.
35.
You're kidding me, because it was almost at halftime. And they scored again.
Just scored again.
35-0. Oregon is has taken out the train tracks on Dion in Colorado. Not to offset what they've done, but they are rolling past the Buffaloes in that one. Utah 14-0 over UCLA. That's about to go to halftime too.
Yeah, we got to talk about the Colorado thing for a second. I mean, all that hype, and you knew coming into this game that this was probably blockage in the tracks, so to speak. They've been chugging on along and things are rolling. They're picking up speed, but there's like an obstacle in the way, and it's called Oregon. And you knew that there's a chance this thing could derail for one day, and sure enough, it has. And I don't know they're not digging out a 35-0 to come back and beat Oregon. They don't have the defense. That was the thing all along, was their defense just wasn't impressive, and it was a shootout style that was winning them games, but they can't even score points today, so they have no chance to beat a team like Oregon. I'm shocked that it's this lopsided. I'm not shocked that Oregon's like beating them up and blowing them out by any means, but 35-0 at halftime is wow.
I cannot say in polite company the phrase I think Dan Lanning is coaching with, but he is definitely
let me tell you something. You're right. You know what? He made the comment when somebody asked him about the comment back when the realignment was going on, and he said, I don't apologize at all for my football program. And he wasn't going to get into this little, he said, receipts. They went out and they're beating Colorado to death.
They ran a fake punt inside their own 15 to a 305-pound defensive lineman. Dan Lanning was confident today.
Well, no, he already went viral for his pregame speech, and he was basically, the gist of it was talking about this isn't Hollywood, this is real life or whatever, and he was talking about how they're worried about clicks and likes and Oregon's worried about playing football. And I mean, he went into the whole type of attack that you would if you were him versus a Dion Glitz team who's talking a lot of noise. And you know what? He's talking the talk, but he's walking the walk right now.
Also, Ole Miss 7-6 at halftime on Alabama. Alabama had a 1st and goal at the 1, ended up having to kick about a 40-yard field goal. Milroe stays in at quarterback. Their offense continues to struggle. 7-6, Bama down a point at home. We have to take a break and come back about Texas and Baylor. Anything else about the scores that we've seen so far that are not yet, at least the game's underway?
I mean, that's just really concerning. Jalen Milroe still only mustering you 7 points at halftime. I mean, with
6.
the big change, 6, sorry. Yeah, 6 points. I mean, that's red flags everywhere at this point, or crimson flags, I should say, if you're Alabama. But, yeah, that's shocking. And some other game in the ACC today, some top 25. Did y'all see that? Some stupid little overtime game that happened?
Wait a minute. We got to go to a break. We don't have time for Florida State, 34-27, overtime Clemson.
It was 31-24. 31-24. And here's the thing. I believe in myself in a way that I haven't in years.
You're so
no. It was a really great game. I can sing the praises of Florida State all day long. They had a really rough time against Clemson because Clemson's really good. Garrett Riley is a stud coach. He is an absolute stud coach who'll be a head coach somewhere.
Yep. And again, some people will look at the loss. They're going to point the finger somewhere. A missed field goal that would have given Clemson a 3-point lead with not much time left. The young man hooked it. It was never close. And FSU scores in overtime. They win at 31-24. When we come back, the historical notes and nuggets on Texas and Baylor. 6:30 kickoff tonight on ABC. We'll be there, but right now we're here, and this is Game Day Live.
Game Day Live, sponsored locally by TFNB, your bank for life, Central Texas Plumbing Solutions, and Centex Roof Systems.
So before I came to Dr. Thrasher, my teeth were awful. They were ugly. They were yellow. They just looked nasty. I came here and Dr. Thrasher fixed them. They're gorgeous. I love to smile in my pictures and show them off to everybody. I just love them.
Well, I feel terrific. I mean, it's what I live for in dentistry, is to be able to have an impact on somebody's life, to make their life better.
For over 40 years, Hope Pregnancy Centers has championed parents facing unplanned pregnancy with crucial life-affirming resources. We are looking for 350 donors at $30 monthly to provide over 2,000 free life-revealing ultrasounds to moms and dads when it's most critical. Your support of Hope shows every woman and unborn baby that they are valued and treasured by God.
Hello, I'm Sharon Kerr, and I recommend Tony Lenore and Syntex Roof System to all my friends, my family, and clients.
When it came time to replace our roof, making an investment in your home. And when you're doing something like that, you want to make sure it's somebody that's got high character, which made Syntex Roof Systems the obvious choice.
Well, I had a hail claim, and Syntex Roof Systems made a stressful situation into a very easy situation.
You're your hometown roofer, and we approve this message.
We will hear from Dave Aranda, Baylor football coach, on this show today, Game Day Live. Garrett's top three or keys to the game. He'll join us with that here momentarily. And also, we'll get back to Darby Brown, among others, today on Game Day Live. Here are some historical notes on Texas and Baylor. Their first game ever played was in 1901. Texas winning that game 23-0. The first time that both of them played as a Southwest Conference member, Baylor winning back in 1916, 7-3. Last year's game, Texas wins 38-27. They came out and pounded the ball in the second half. They finally go, man, we've got Bijan Robinson and Roshan Johnson who wore down Baylor, who had at one point a 9-0 lead. Last Baylor win 2 years ago, their best year ever, 12-2, won the Big 12 as they beat Texas 31-24 and had to come from behind to do it. The all-time series, very lopsided, and most of the ones UT's involved with that have been long-term, 79, 29, and 4. But since 2010, the year that RG3 came back, remember, from the knee injury, Texas has won 7 of 13. Baylor has won 5 consecutive Big 12 conference openers, which is what this is, although they've been pretty fortunate the way the schedule has been with Kansas and Iowa State, 5 of those games.
Yeah, they're going to need some 1916 energy today, certainly. And not only that, I think the best win for Baylor in the series, at least in my opinion, outside of the Miracle in the Brazos, which is historical, was 2019 when Tom Herman had to call a garbage timeout just to get points on the board.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I remember that. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, they've it's been one-sided, but not so much as of late, as you point out. I mean, obviously, Baylor had a great run with Browse. That, I think there's always going to be a what-if of, it's hard to what-if all that, took place. But, what would that have looked like on the other side had they just maintained where they were? And, it could have been a lot more. It could have been a lot more than just 7 and 6 based on the way that was starting to trend, but it wasn't. And UT, obviously went through a couple of coaches, and they've both been kind of just going through, various iterations of themselves. And now we land here with Sarkisian and Aranda, 2 guys that I think very much respect one another, but from opposite sides of their expertise, with Sark being a big-time offensive guy, maybe if not one of arguably the best mind in college football when it comes to offense, certainly one of them, and Dave Aranda, same thing, but defensively. So this is going to be a fun chess match. I mean, Sark certainly comes with more weapons in his arsenal, but Aranda's not without any, and I think that it's going to be really fun to see how they go about trying to attack one another.
It's going to be interesting because it will be energized. There will be 15,000 plus Baylor students who have received tickets, the largest number of tickets ever passed out to Baylor students for a single game. It will be electric. Texas brings that even when they've been through 10 or 12 years of kind of okay at best. And Baylor, they need to show a pulse. They need to not show their heart that they're playing the game probably as hard as they can, but it would be nice to see something, a collision early or a play early or an extra 5 or 10 yards breaking a tackle early, because they're going to need a lot of that today in the game against the Longhorns.
I think they need to block a punt or something. I mean, something like that.
Pick six.
Pick six, like something that's going to be a game-changing. play that not only boosts your confidence but wrecks Texas. Like that's what you need to do, is that you need to have Texas playing without confidence, which even in their worst moments this year, like watching the Wyoming game last week, they didn't seem to be playing not confident. They were just inefficient. And this is a team that's going to be very confident in Texas, so you have to find a way to shake that, especially since that's really, look, we can talk about athlete versus athlete and blah, blah, blah all day long. What this comes down to me is that Baylor has not played an hour of confident football, 4 15-minute quarters.
Can't be passive. They must get going, yeah.
Texas can. So if Baylor can do that, then this can be a game.
They need to keep the crowd in it. I mean, and that's by making plays. If they let the air get out of the home crowd, and I know there'll be a lot of burnt orange there. I mean, I don't know to what extent, but there'll be a lot of it there, I know. But they're naturally going to be heard and be loud or whatever. They're the road team, but you got to keep that home crowd feisty and let them help you stay in the game at times by being loud and giving you that energy and that unseen, just lift. And so I think home field's very important in this game, and I'm just questioning whether or not Baylor can actually take advantage of that. But that to me is a key in this game, is to keep the home folks energized and keep them in the game with you, so that when it comes down to crunch time, I mean, that's an advantage for you. But yeah, I mean, this is a game that could go a lot of different ways, and I'm just fascinated to see how it plays out, because there's obviously stories that spring from this, however the result comes for both teams.
Well, I'll tell you what, Texas has won a couple, 2 or 3 times in the last 12 years when they weren't the favorite. I don't know how many times Baylor's beaten Texas when they weren't the favorite, because most of the time, maybe that 2010 game kind of came as a surprise, but most of the time they've been the favorite. Remember the Charlie Strong team that came in 16 and stunned Baylor, or 15 and stunned Baylor. And then also they came back a little bit later on and won the game too. So we have a game tonight, 6:30. We're not done. Garrett's keys to the game. We'll hear from former Baylor quarterback J.J. Joe with Baylor Radio. And also we'll hear from Baylor football coach Dave Aranda. This is 365 Sports and KWTX. And of course, Game Day Live.
Cars priced right both day and night. Average your car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. Average your car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. Average your car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. Average your car in Waco, Texas.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Edward Jones financial advisors Ben Erlinson, Chuck Verno, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott understand these are difficult and changing times we live in, but they know how important your financial investments are to you. So is your financial advisor staying in touch with you and helping you navigate today's financial climate? Invest with Edward Jones financial advisors Ben Erlinson, Chuck Verno, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, who invest their time and experience back to you and your money. And like coaching athletes, investing money is about time, patience, and encouragement. Contact Ben Erlinson at 254-759-8533, Chuck Verno at 720 North 64th Street, Brad Wilson's location at 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, and Cam Heathcott in Conroe. Edward Jones Financial Advisors, Ben Erlinson, Chuck Verno, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, proud sponsors of 365 Sports. Edward Jones, making sense of investing, member SIPC.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation. TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB, your bank for life. Member FDIC.
Game Day Live on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, TFNB, your bank for life, Three Nations Brewing Company, Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, Edward Jones Advisors, Ben Erlinson, Chuck Furno, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, and Bubba's 33.
Welcome back into Game Day Live. I'm Garrett Ross with today's Keys to the Game presented by Richard Carr Motors. This is going to be an intriguing matchup on Saturday with Baylor and Texas, the final matchup in this long-standing rivalry. I know a lot of y'all are upset to see this go, and I understand that. And, you know, if you go back, you can listen throughout this week. I think you've heard that address from both sides. Dave Aranda has reached out. He's talked about this being the final matchup, as well as Steve Sarkisian down in Austin. It's going to take a lot for Baylor to come out and get the win on Saturday night. But at the end of the day, man, just go out, play hard, leave it all on the field. It's a sellout. Your fans are there. Just enjoy the moment and leave it, just for real, just leave it all on the field. We'll see what happens. But here's today's keys to the game. Key number 1, get the passing game going. Since Blake Shapen's injury, Baylor has really struggled to move the ball down the field. If you go back and look over the course of the games, since taking over for Blake Shapen, Sawyer Robertson has really struggled in the passing game. I really don't think it's all on him, right? There's going to be learning curves as a young quarterback. You've got a lot of youth on the line as well. But when you have guys like Ketron Jackson and Hal Presley who have only gotten 4 targets apiece, Monterey Baldwin has been missing the entire time. Like, you cannot find a way to get him the ball. That's something you're going to have to figure out against this Texas defense. Their line is going to be arguably the best you've faced all year. You did a good job, a serviceable job against Utah, but I think Texas is going to be a different animal. You've got to find ways to get the ball out of Sawyer's hands quick and really just take shots down the field. You've got to alleviate the pressure on the running backs because right now, nobody is scared of Baylor's passing attack. Not at all. So you're going to have to stretch the field against Texas. Our second key to the game, let the pups off the leash. If you look at this Baylor team right now, the freshman class is really the ones bringing the energy. They are the ones who are leaving it all on the field. When you go and check the stat lines after the game, it's the freshmen. It's the freshmen who are having the largest impact on this team. I think this is a situation where you just say, you know what, guys? This is your roster. This is your group. You are the future. Take over right now. Leave it all on the field. This is a situation where it's an ABC nighttime matchup. The entire nation is going to have eyes on you. The freshmen need to embrace this moment, ball out, and just take the team over. Because at this point, I think they are the future. The future is now for Baylor, and you need to ride with this group. Lastly, our final key to the game, just stay healthy. If you look at this Baylor roster, it has been riddled with injuries, obviously starting with Blake Shapen. Things have gone downhill from there. You've got Devin Lemire, who has been out in the secondary, which has forced a lot of the younger guys to have to step up as well. You look at the running back room, Dom Richardson is not healthy right now. He is going to miss this game as well, which is going to open up opportunities for more guys like Dawson Pendergrass and those other young backs in the backfield to get their opportunity. Just go out there, capitalize, but you've got to stay healthy. There's going to be no way for Baylor to get this season on track if they can't overcome these injuries. There's just been too many right now. If you look, you're playing so many young players, and it's really virtue of these injuries. So just stay healthy, come out of this game, and hope to just get things going as the season progresses in Big 12 play, and I think you're going to be all right. Just stay patient with this team. They are really young, and they are really playing hard. I think it's going to come together. I just don't know if it's going to come together against Texas. But that's going to do it for our keys to the game. Stay right there. We'll be back with more Game Day Live right after this.
Central Texas Plumbing Solution is the team you can count on to go the extra mile and resolve your plumbing problems quickly and thoroughly, getting it done right the first time. So when you need some help before the big game, call Central Texas Plumbing Solutions.
I don't know what any of this stuff is.
Is the Jeep not starting?
Token, can you please come help?
call for a tow?
Yes.
Y'all call for a tow?
Yes.
Call Tow King 24 hours a day for all your emergency roadside needs.
Carol Weaver here from Waco Mattress Center, your local mattress experts. Our team prides itself on saying no. No fine print, no gimmicks, no hidden costs, no long waits. Our experts will help you find the right mattress that fits your needs. We make you 2 promises. We won't sell you a mattress we wouldn't sleep on, and order by 3 gets same-day delivery. You have plenty of options to shop, but why waste your time? Come see us at Waco Mattress Center. Thank you for your business.
Central Texas Plumbing Solution is the team you can count on to go the extra mile and resolve your plumbing problems quickly and thoroughly, getting it done right the first time. So when you need some help before the big game, call Central Texas Plumbing Solutions.
Watch KWTX Weekend Mornings on News 10.
JJ Joe joins us on Mondays at 4:45. JJ.
So Sawyer Robertson clearly appears to be a bit banged up still. JJ, how much do you think that played into the passing game? And just, you know, the running game was great. Like you said, that you don't know how much that translates against a very, you know, a good Texas defense. But what do you do about the passing game, and how much do you put that on the injury to the ankle of Sawyer Robertson?
Yeah, you can kind of tell he's not, you know, the difference between Sawyer against Utah and I think Long Island, it's like he's half the player to me. Because against Utah, I thought he was, even though his completion percentage was not way up, he was confident because I think he had the availability of his feet and he had the availability of his arms. So he would go 1-2, not there, I'm running. Or he even had the zone, you know, the quarterback planned runs. So I think, you know, that just provides a young player with confidence. When all of a sudden, you know, a good part of your game is taken away because he's decent, you know, he's pretty decent athlete. Then all of a sudden you got to rely on the drop back game, which he's not. He was very good in high school in the drop back spread game, but he's learning. So I think it impacted his confidence. He wasn't sure he could send some of the throws. He was a little either late or hesitant. And I'm hoping that another week will help that ankle get, you know, I'm not saying it would be 100%, but maybe closer to 80, 85%.
JJ, you've seen Texas, or I'm not sure exactly how often, but they played Alabama, of course, a couple of weeks ago. They have a handful, if maybe more, dynamic playmakers, a quarterback who can throw it really, really well, a defense that seems like they have a little bit more grit to them. What would you do if you were Dave Aranda, Jeff Grimes, and also Matthew Palage?
You know, it's a tough one. You know, Smoak, I mean, and the thing that, you know, you haven't mentioned is like they have an elite play caller. Sark, I mean, we may think another way about his head coach ability. I think he's grown and learned a lot from being with Saban. But offensively, that dude's a genius. He knows there's different coordinators to me. There's some guys who have great scheme. He has great scheme. Grimes has great scheme. But then there's play callers who also have the ability to say, I got to get the ball to this guy, these guys, and I'm going to do it to them these ways. And they communicate it to the players. The players know, they rep it, and you can see the confidence in the players. And so he's pretty darn good at that. And that's what concerns me a little bit because we sometimes showed some weakness on the edge against Texas State. We've also seen that we'll let a run pop. And Sark is, if we do what we did against Texas State, Sark will put a 50 spot on us easy in the first half because he will isolate and attack. So, man, I tell you what I would do. Really, I would. We have to try to run the ball, but Sawyer has to. Hopefully, I think the way that he has to be able to get that completion percentage up. Coach Grimes has to schedule in some easy completions for him. Easy ones. It's almost like one read, boom. It's like a guy in motion, boom. Just get a guy completions because for a young player like him, if you can just get them 4, 5, 6 completions, they're a totally different player. And I think, you know, doing some really quick stuff, easy completions early, and then hopefully trying to get Richard Reese into the game a little early. And defensively, I would bend no break, man. You can't let Xavier run by you. So it's going to be a tough go on Saturday.
JJ, how do you balance what's going to be a lot of emotions about it's Texas, it's the last time, channeling that into being fired up about playing Texas and then getting to where it gets to the tipping point and you've got too many emotional eggs in that basket?
Yeah. I mean, energy. If energy is a challenge this week, then I don't know. I don't think anybody knows what the issue is, because Texas last time we'll probably play them in a very long time, if ever at all. And it's a conference game. They're leaving the conference. All that stuff. The fans are into it, so there'll be a bunch of gas out there. So I don't think energy will be a problem. The problem will be like, which maybe we saw at Colorado State. Guys staying disciplined, guys staying calm, guys not going overboard, too much talking. You don't need to do all that. So it'll have to be. I think Coach Aranda does a good job at managing emotions, but really it's going to boil down to execution, though, because I think ultimately they can take the little fight out of you real quick if all of a sudden, boom, they score. You look, it's 10-0, and you got a very good feel early on, right? That we can't play with these guys. I don't think that's the case, but you got to be prepared.
JJ, in general, what did you think of Dawson Pendergrass? I know you said that a lot of the running stuff was not going to necessarily translate to Texas, but just getting, a full look at him, what were your thoughts on his game?
I like Dawson. I mean, he has a place here. That's the reason they gave him a scholarship. The young man, you don't see too many Caucasian running backs, but that dude knows how to find the hole. He's his weight. They said 212. I think this guy has to be a little bit bigger than 212. But he does a great job of finding the crease, sliding over. And that's odd for a bigger guy, a bigger back. But he does a great job at that. He's physical. He usually is able to fight through a tackle or two. And you need that. That is very necessary. Now, next week we're going against defensive linemen that are 15 times better than the ones we saw on Saturday. And then their linebackers will be bigger and faster. So those holes that Pendergrass saw on Saturday will close much quicker, right? And it'll be a bigger, stronger dude filling that hole. So that's why I'm saying I think, Coach, while it works, Coach has to be very cognizant that, hey, look, this is a different animal we're facing, and the question is how do we attack?
I mean, you're not ready for 3 yards in a cloud of dust to come back, right? If it works, right? Keep the ball away and hope for the best.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you. I mean, if it works, but I saw him play Alabama on TV live, and Alabama with 5-star linemen and probably 5-star running backs couldn't run it when they were jacked, right? When they were kids. And I think Texas will be jacked. People say, well, Texas coming to a 1-2, but why would they be jacked? Because they just struggled last week. So the coaches are in them this week. They're in them because they struggled against Wyoming. So they're going to have all gas. They're going to be ready to go to start conference. And this is kind of what he said. The most important thing for them is to win the conference. Well, this is the first step. So they'll have all gas. We won't see the secondary version of Texas this week.
JJ, your freshman year, did you beat them, Texas, when you were a freshman at Baylor? Was you?
Well, I did not play. I was redshirt that year, but we did. We beat them pretty good, but I did not play that year, Smoak.
All right. What was your most memorable, I guess, historic reference playing against them at Baylor?
Texas they always had great talent. We won. I think I played them in 90. Well, and I was hurt that game. I actually redshirted in 89. I got hurt after about 4 starts and then missed the Texas game. We lost. They had a really good team. They went to the Cotton Bowl. 91, we won. We had a pretty good team. We beat them in Austin. That was a pretty good year. We had a good team. It kind of faltered late, but we beat UT. 92, we beat them here. That was Grant Taft's last game in Waco. We got a couple pretty good calls, so it went our way. But then my last year, we lost to them in Austin. So I would say that 91, 92 games were the best memories.
Thank you, JJ. Appreciate it. We'll see you Saturday, 6:30, kickoff just after 6:30. ABC, Baylor, and Texas at McLean Stadium. Texas paid Wyoming 1.
Game Day Live, sponsored locally by TFNB, your bank for life, Central Texas Plumbing Solutions, and Centex Roof Systems.
Shelly's business needs to be more efficient, and she heard hybrid meeting would help. She called Asbel Electronics, and we took her vision and created a space that was easy to use and maximized live interaction in the office while fully interacting with customers and remote workers. Pastor Dave wanted to live stream his Sunday services, so he called Asbel Electronics. We implemented technologies that brought the in-church experience to the living room while minimizing volunteers' workflow. Let us make your vision come true. Contact Asbel Electronics for all your professional audiovisual needs.
Waco is the heart of Texas. Centrally located and home to industry-leading distribution centers like Amazon, Walmart, and Tractor Supply. From Waco, it's easy to get anywhere you want to go. And at Jeff Hunter Toyota, we have the perfect vehicle to get you there. Like the new Toyota Tundra, Toyota RAV4, Highlander, and Tacoma. Go where you want to go in a new Toyota. Find yours today at Jeff Hunter Toyota. Toyota quality, Waco values.
When the sun rises over Central Texas, we know there's work to be done. So if you need to dig, haul, cut, lift, mow, or anything in between, your local Bobcat dealers in Waco and Temple have all the equipment you'll need to get the job done right. We sell, we rent, and we've got parts and service to keep you up and running, no matter where the job takes you. There's work to do. Let's get it done.
Roger Wallace, voice or color analyst and voice with UT football, on with us on 365 Sports.
Roger, what's kind of the thought going into this Baylor game? Obviously, Big 12 opener on the road. I know there's the underlying, this will be the last time ever, or at least for a long time, that these two teams play, maybe the last time they ever play in Waco. But obviously the Bears have struggled out of the gates. There's no doubt about that. So what was kind of the messaging from Sark following that, less than desirable performance, but still a win, and now heading into the conference play?
Well, on the field, I think they definitely want to clean some things up. They did not throw the ball well. It was a pretty stark contrast from the Bama game when not only they had a big game throwing it, but they were successful in throwing it over the top. Maybe Wyoming had something to do with that. They were going to keep Texas from getting over the top, but there are usually ways to kind of figure things out that just didn't happen. But I think you're exactly right. Just going to Waco, knowing the energy and emotion that's going to be in that stadium, and as Sark said, we're on this farewell tour, but we still got to be the ones that punch, not get punched all the time. And so I think there's just a concern that, they've lost the last two times up there, and they know what Baylor's capable of. All you have to look at is the Utah game. So, they're very concerned, and I think it's going to be that way every week with this team.
Roger, the feeling up here is, oh, my God, what's this score going to be? Because Baylor has looked very average at best in the loss to Texas State, and then how they finished against Utah, and even dangled or lingered with Long Island. What do you hear? I know you study the game and all that as well, and it's still early in the week, but what do you hear about what might be something Texas is concerned about, if anything, with Baylor this week?
Well, I think it's the things that you worry about on the road, and that's some momentum shifts. Texas hadn't turned the ball over until pretty late in the fourth quarter on Saturday when the game was out of hand all three games. So you take care of the ball, and that eliminates if you think you're the better team, well, how does another team get in it? Well, you get a turnover, you get a short field, things like that. So that's always something. As average to below average as Quinn Ewers played Saturday, he still took care of the ball. Now, he had one throw that very easily could have been picked. That hasn't been the case of the first two games. But I think that's where a concern is, just big momentum swings. The running game's been consistently inconsistent until the last drive against Alabama and second half against Wyoming. So there's some concern. Okay, if they can't run the ball, do they put Ewers in harm's way? We know Dave Aranda can, coach defense. So I think they're concerned about all those things. And then just the concern, guys, when a team thinks they're really good, I think that's when everybody's even more on edge because, they know what's at stake. And I think that probably plays into it as well, whether they'll admit it or not. It's just the fact that, okay, we're number 3 now is they're thinking that means we got a lot farther to get knocked off our perch if things go south.
Roger, do you think maturity would pop up as an issue with this team? I mean, they've got a lot of guys who have been a lot, whether transfer portal or been at Texas for a while that have seen some things, but a lot of these guys are also, kind of new to success.
Yeah. And there's a small sample size of what happened at Alabama, and that was Bama hit them, took the lead late in the third, and Texas didn't flinch. Now, we can all discuss, okay, maybe this Alabama team is not that good based on the Texas game and the South Florida game. But so far, they've answered that because they all have been second-half games. And, good and bad. Good that they've been able to, figure it out in the second half, pull away, come back, do whatever they've had to do. Or, the flip side is, what if they start slow again and find themselves in a hole that's, on the road, emotion, momentum, and things like that? Maybe that does cost them. So I think the first thing they like to do is establish the run from the start. And then if, the big offensive line can wear on a defense if they can do that. And then that obviously opens everything up. But, yeah, I think they're concerned about everything in this ball game Saturday. As I know up there that might sound a little bit absurd, but I guess when you're on the other side of it, you're worried about, it's that old line from the firm, my job is to worry about things you don't worry about. I think that's what they're doing right now.
What about the health of the team?
Well, they lost 2 linemen. I mean, Cole Hudson, on and off starter at guard, is gone for a few weeks. Defensive lineman Chris Ross, he's a rotation guy, but sees a lot of snaps. He's gone the same amount of time. So those are the 2 big ones. And again, Sark said Baxter was back. Doesn't necessarily mean he's back to the point where he's going to get any snaps. But you do lose some depth on both sides of the ball, and I think they liked Cole Hudson in there. DJ Campbell got the start in the opener, but he's been a little bit inconsistent. So I think that was a pretty significant hit for the next several weeks.
Look forward to seeing you Saturday, my friend. Thank you very much for your time, Raj.
Right back at you guys. Thanks for having me.
Roger Wallace, Texas color analyst, Texas Radio, on the game Saturday evening at 6:30. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive is a premier elite life-changing experience where you can change your mind, body, and soul. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes every week, including boot camp, indoor cycling, bar, silver sneakers, and more. If you haven't been to Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness lately, you're missing out on the improvements. New flooring in the weight room floor and locker rooms, new paint and mirrors added to the weight room and group exercise room, and many new machines have been added and arriving constantly on the weight room floor. New free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, new ellipticals on the spacious weight room floor. Personal training with Christy London, Randall Corley, Alex Box, and welcome to Nathan Roach, where you will be encouraged and motivated to grow. A kids club included with your membership, plus sauna, whirlpool, and tanning bed. 16 tennis courts plus a beautiful stadium court, and longtime youth tennis pro Britt Coleman and assistant junior Kenna. Adult tennis lessons and clinics with Blake, and the commitment to pickleball with 8 courts and instructor Jody Thurman. Visit the website at wacotennis.com or visit us at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco. Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment, and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. Nachos and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
In our logo and advertising, we say we are people that you can count on. What does that mean? It starts with providing a quality vehicle and quality service at a fair price. But it also means we do what we say we will do, and we treat people fairly with respect. It starts by hiring great people. Good local folks who work hard with a caring attitude. Our employees are the real reason we are people that you can count on. Put us to the test and see for yourself that at Richard Carr Motors, we are people you can count on.
Game Day Live on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, TFNB, your bank for life, Three Nations Brewing Company, Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, Edward Jones Advisors, Ben Erlinson, Chuck Furno, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, and Bubba's 33.
We appreciate all of our sponsors, also our relationship, of course, with CW and the KWTX, what they do locally, and also a part of that as far as television. Plus, we're on the Sikkim 365 app and online at Sikkim365.com, YouTube 365 Sports. So let's give you some updates now. Games in the third quarter. In the Big 12, West Virginia continues to lead. Texas Tech, West Virginia has the ball.
No.
Texas Tech has the ball. West Virginia continues to lead, yes, 13-3 with just over 6 minutes to go. Now 5 minutes to go in the third quarter.
Yeah, Baron Morton just skipped the pass. Does it look like it's raining there, or it's kind of?
I think it's like that fog.
Yeah, it's like a little precipitation is definitely in the air as Tech is going to have to punt the ball down 13-3. Man, there's a long way to go, but yeah, that's an interesting score going on.
It's a huge one. Like if Neil Brown can rattle off 2 wins in a row, get a big conference win here, kind of roll into the season. I mean, and look, it's going to be week to week in the Big 12. We know that is, but this is a tough one to climb out of for Joey McGuire. And then for Neil Brown, like it's another, all right, go ahead and doubt me. Go ahead and put the wrong color at media days. Go ahead and pick against me every time, you know.
His other big complaint was that they had a lot of their offensive line back, and that nobody seemed to make much of that, and that kind of bothered him a little bit. And that's not like they're pounding people with the run game because the defense is playing incredibly well.
The defense is the strongest part of their team for sure. They got a lot of issues still on offense. But, yeah, Texas Tech only having 3 points. Tyler Shuck got hurt, so that's part of it. But, yeah, if Joey and crew fall to 1-3, that would obviously be massively disappointing.
This should calm any kind of quarterback controversy, at least for now, that fans might have created in their heads.
Well, yeah, because Shuck's not going to probably come back. You're right. It's just Baron Morton. That's it. 13-3 again, West Virginia, 4:30 to go, third quarter. And then Kansas, 28-20, BYU has the ball with just under 5 minutes left, third quarter, and they are at their own 26-yard line. KU jumped up early. BYU was able to kind of catch them and take the lead, but Kansas just put on the full throttle. And Neal has 88 yards. Devin Neal has 88 yards rushing today in the game.
That was a big completion there.
I said it.
BYU, baby. I've been working on that.
Yeah. I really don't know where that began.
I don't know either.
Maybe just old school. I don't know. But, yeah, it's
I've never heard somebody so stuck on that. But it doesn't matter. You're moving on. But, yeah, I mean, that's been a back-and-forth game. BYU's got the football, and they're in KU territory, down 8.
Nice throw, yeah.
That's setting up to be a really fun finish there. And that's a good little game going on.
This game was a 9.5-point spread, I believe. KU. And I would stand to keep to that, at least right now, because I think it's going to go back and forth. But if you're at home, fourth quarter in a close game, and Jalen Daniels has got the ball in his hand with 5 minutes left and needs to go score a touchdown, I'm going to buy that.
Yeah, we had that topic. Remember the discussion, if you had a quarterback in the Big 12, you needed to go 75 yards and you had 2 or 3 minutes, who would you want? And he can help you with his feet and also with how he can throw the football. Iowa State in a 3-point lead at halftime against Oklahoma State. This is an interesting game here. And right now, 20-17, higher scoring game than most of us thought. But Iowa State, the Cyclones, they need a win. So does Oklahoma State. Iowa State up by 3 at half at home in Ames.
Yeah, Oklahoma State able to get a field goal right before half to make this a little bit closer. But this is an interesting second half in store because I don't know what to expect from either one of these teams. I don't think most of their fans know, other than offense typically isn't great, but both teams can play some defense, and I think it still has been more high scoring than people expected. So, yeah, this is in for an interesting second half.
Of course, Baylor and Texas tonight just after 6:30. At McLean Stadium on ABC. Houston plays Sam Houston State. That game is on ESPN+. And UCF in Manhattan against K-State. That game at 7 o'clock on FS1. That'll be a fun game to kind of watch. Oklahoma won earlier today. TCU beat SMU in a non-conference game.
Yeah, great win for the Frogs. They took care of business in a game that some people thought that they wouldn't win, and they won by a couple scores, so did what they needed to do. I think they're kind of quietly under the radar almost a little bit right now. You know what I mean? Like, you think of and understandably so, but they're going to be, they're 3-1, and I think they're as dangerous as anybody, really, outside of maybe Texas or Oklahoma as far as, in the conference goes. And I know K-State you might put up there, but TCU, I think, still plenty dangerous. So great win for them.
They got it out of their system. They got the shock out of their system.
Right. They got that first game against Colorado that was just a huge surprise out of the way, and now they've kind of regrouped since then, and Chandler Morris has played well. And, Oklahoma's defense looks really good. That Red River game is going to be something else. Obviously we get to see Texas tonight, but that's shaping up to be a really interesting game. I don't know how else to put it just yet.
Well, and Slovis just got picked, by the way, by KU, and they ran it out back towards about the 40-yard line.
Yeah, I think that the league is going to remain interesting. I think that, look, TCU, Colorado deserves all the credit in the world for going to Fort Worth in that first game and winning a close one. But let's not get twisted what happened to TCU. They lost to a team that's pretty good in Colorado. Obviously, they're not national championship caliber yet because they're playing that kind of a team today in Oregon, and they're getting steamrolled. But they lost to a pretty good team with a lot of confidence and a lot of excitement going into that game by 3 points. So
in their first game with basically a brand new team, because of all the guys they lost.
The brand new team, brand new offense. Like, things are like Garrett Riley. I can tell you, just watching Garrett Riley today, Garrett Riley's offense and Kendall Brow's offense are. There's some pretty stark differences in them, and still they haven't really missed a beat when it comes to that. They're probably not going to be as spectacular as they were, because how often do you have Quentin Johnston roll through the door? If you're anybody but like Alabama, like, you have players that are plus players like that all the time. So, it's going to take some adjustment. And if TCU rolls out 9-3 or 10-2 after what they did a year ago, I don't think anybody should be all that surprised.
Well, Chandler Morris is playing pretty well for them. And, of course, he's the one that was the starter before going down when Duggan took over and took him to that magical year before hitting that big, huge roadblock against Georgia in the championship game. Also, nationally, Oregon 42, Colorado nothing. This game now is midway through the third quarter. Oregon just forced a punt. They have the ball at their 38-yard line, and they are doing whatever they want, whenever they want it. And, in fact, even on top of that, there's a little bit of perhaps whipped cream and a cherry.
I was wondering what the box score looked like. There was a couple things about Colorado that you knew was potentially going to be trouble for them. One, that defense. And two, the lack of a running game. Do y'all know how many rushing yards they have?
30.
Well, taking sacks into account, Shedeur, and that was the other thing, Shedeur getting hit constantly. That was always a problem for them, but it just got covered up by the fact that they scored a lot of points. So those are three pretty big areas. No running game.
He was sacked like 9 times by Nebraska.
Sacked all the time. No run game to speak of that's consistent or all that impressive, and defense that's not the greatest, and that's going to cost you. They have negative 41 rushing yards on 13 carries because you take into account Shedeur getting sacked.
Right.
But still, only 13 carries. 7 of those were Shedeur. So they've only run the ball with Edwards, Wilkerson, and Hankerson 5 times for 24 yards.
Yeah, and when you are good, I'll just use Oregon, for example.
And they've got a pass, obviously. I will say that. They can't run the ball 42-0.
Oregon is a team that you can probably coach around a deficiency for a while because you're good all over the place. So you can say, okay, we can't run the ball very good against this team today, so we're just going to do this until it works. We're going to scrap this. And, of course, they haven't had to do that yet, but Oregon's a team like that. Colorado is a very new team, so it was amazing that in the first 3 games they coached around those deficiencies like they did, but eventually you're going to run up against a team that you can't coach around because they're going to exploit that to a level where you can't get out of the hole.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I'll tell you another thing. Dan Lanning, the way he approached this week, and I even saw Dion not messing around at all when he was asked about Lanning, what he said during the summer about Colorado. Yeah, what have they done? Dan Lanning has been laser focused for this game, and so has his football team. 42-0 Oregon with the lead now. Again, 6:56 to go third quarter. Utah continues to shut out UCLA. Cam Rising did not play. 9 seconds to go third quarter. 14-0. Alabama has taken the lead. 17-10 now, late third over Ole Miss. They did get a touchdown and now up 17-10.
How much do you love the way that Kyle Whittingham can coach a team with its 4th quarterback and have the defense controlling a Chip Kelly offense that like I said a couple times earlier this week, most of the times on a bad day, they're going to score 24 points.
Yep.
You know, they may give up a lot more than that, but shutting down a Chip Kelly offense is pretty impressive right now.
Yeah, the Cam Rising thing, I mean, that's going to be interesting, you know, to see when he actually does come back. I mean, that was obviously a really bad injury, but there was a lot of teasing that he could be back. And I know a lot of that was, you know, mind games because they're about to play a top 25 team in conference and all of that. But they haven't needed him. I mean, Nate Johnson's been the guy. Like he should have been all along against Baylor, but wasn't until late for whatever reason. And, you know, Dante Moore, not off to a very good start in this game against Utah's defense. So, not surprising, but it's still sort of surprising that it's 14-0 and just a testament to how tough and, you know, good Utah is.
One other Texas score to put out, Tennessee rolling past Jeff Traylorman, UTSA now 31-0. That game has just started the second half. Jennifer and Daniel are in the studio, married in April, or going to be in April. They've been here. They're watching the game. Daniel, you're right in front of the camera, but that's okay. Have fun. Glad you're here. Oh, my God.
I've done it, too.
We can't take them anywhere.
Yeah.
No, we have. We've even done it. You're right. We have done that ourselves. When we come back, my conversation with Baylor football coach Dave Aranda and Darby Brown live again from McLean Stadium, and this is Game Day Live.
Central Texas Plumbing Solution is the team you can count on to go the extra mile and resolve your plumbing problems quickly and thoroughly, getting it done right the first time. So when you need some help before the big game, call Central Texas Plumbing Solutions.
Locally owned and operated by a Christian family, Syntex Roof Systems is the one to trust. We're the most experienced and trusted roofing company in Central Texas with the best warranty in the business, offering free evaluations with honesty and integrity from start to finish for your roofing project. Thank you for so many wonderful years, and may God continue to share His blessings upon us all.
God bless Texas.
We're your hometown roofer, and we approve this message.
Hi, I'm John Proctor with Home Place Interiors. You know, nothing compares to the quality of an area rug to finish your house. Come by and save 50% on all in-stock and special order rugs. Come by Home Place Interiors, where quality is affordable.
For all your flooring needs, visit Home Place Interiors at 523 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Central Texas Plumbing Solution is the team you can count on to go the extra mile and resolve your plumbing problems quickly and thoroughly, getting it done right the first time. So when you need some help before the big game, call Central Texas Plumbing Solutions.
KWTX Skycam Network, sponsored by Ray Broker Air Conditioning.
Baylor football coach Dave Aranda with me, David Smoak on 365 Sports. Do you feel like where you are as a depth chart and talent has been affected by not being aggressive in the transfer portal, not this past summer, but the year before?
No, I appreciate that question. I don't think so. I think the talent that we have and the depth that we have is probably the most that we've had. And so especially with our skill people, you know, to be able to play four corners and to have to roll them in and out. In the past, that's not been the case. And then I think the same could be true for D-line wise and our ability to roll guys out. Now, those guys are young people, and so that if that's what you mean by that question, then I feel good about our talent. I think the transfer portal as a whole for what we did this past year was really kind of predicated on just that 2020 recruiting class and the lack thereof and everything. And so I'm hopeful that from now on, we're getting 6 to 8, somewhere in there a year, as opposed to the, under 20 that we just about did this past year. And so I think that would be something that could benefit the team and then still get us to where, kids are coming in here and it's not turning into a junior college.
It seems like to me, you're playing about half your starters seem to be freshmen or sophomores, which is what you alluded to. But it seems like they're the ones that are the ones flying around to the football and perhaps having a little bit more of that oomph. The fans, when you win, everyone, that's great. And you don't, then there's an energy issue in your personality. You know that. But it seems like they're the ones that seem like they're more excited. Why would the underclassmen do that rather than the guys who have been around 4, 5, or 6 years?
I appreciate that. Yeah, I think to talk about energy, I think that first game, so many young people playing, and I hesitate to talk like that because I don't want to make it sound like an excuse. But there was nervousness in that game, and there was a hesitation in that game. And despite all the talk by me and all of it, we still, that still occurred. I didn't feel any of that in the second game. I thought there was a pure attack mode throughout. And in this third game, I thought defensively it was that way. And I think I mentioned in there, I think offensively we probably would have felt it too if the throw game would have gotten going. So I would say that as a whole. I know that, being who I am invites things, and so I definitely understand that. But I think, though, to specifically address your question, if you're a young person, you feel like you're getting better. You feel like it's an opportunity to grow. It's like I'm out there and I'm going and I'm going full speed. I messed up, but I'm gonna get better, and I know that I'm gonna get better, and I want to get better. If you're an old person and you've been around, you could say, Long Island who? Why do we? What? And it could, all of these things could be inside, and so you have to make sure that all of that's out. And a lot of times, if there's certain things that are holding guys back that are back, and I'm not saying this versus our guys specifically, I'm saying this just as a general thing nowadays, is the things that when guys are coming back, for a lot of times there's a certain thing they've got to work through, and we as coaches have got to help them. If there wasn't stuff to work through, they'd probably be in the NFL right now. And so I think to work through those things is kind of the whole thing for a lot of the guys that are coming back. And so I think, there's different, where the veteran process may be a slower process. The younger process is a little bit quicker because they're thinking, I'm getting better with every snap.
Do you feel like you have a Big 12 championship roster?
I do. I feel like we're talented. Yeah. I think some of these questions, and I appreciate them, would be, if we were as explosive as we've been in practice on Saturdays, which we have not been, I think it'd be different.
Jalen Petrie may have been like almost a once-in-a-lifetime player, and we know his story. He's in the NFL. You've struggled finding another one of him. And, of course, there's a reason how good he is. But has that been a disappointment that you haven't found, like the lightning rod of your defense and someone like what he brought to the table at that position?
Appreciate it. The star. Yeah, I think I think Corey can still be that, Corey Gordon. I think Tayshaun Wilson played some snaps this past game. I think Tayshaun could be that. I think both of those guys are very dynamic guys, and they're young. Tayshaun's a true freshman, but Corey has shown flashes. I think Corey's got to tighten up the off the field so that the on the field's a little bit more in between the lines. But he has shown to make plays, whether it's near the line of scrimmage or in a half or in man-to-man or blitzing. And so I can remember when Corey was here with Christian Morgan and Christian saying this guy's the next one. And so it's very obvious from that point of view, but it's just now that we're in a higher level of everything counts and everything matters, we've got to clean up the off the field to get the on the field better.
Mack Rhodes told us last week that Baylor, you guys have to be careful about how you position NIL, but I feel like there's about to be more of, we are taking care of the athletes, either now or the ones incoming. Is that something you've tried to communicate with the administration, knowing how sensitive it is, what you can say or not say about NIL?
about how
he seems to think that there's about to be, hey, we are doing this, and Baylor's been kind of too quiet about it.
Right. I can sense that's where it's going. I think I feel the same way from the same place you're asking that question. And Mac and I have talked about that. And just this past week, we talked about just where it was, where it is now, and where it's going, and where Baylor needs to be to stay in the mix with it.
Texas is loaded, both sides of the ball. We know that. Can you sense, you won't be able to do it today, that you would come out with a team that's just hell-bent for election on Saturday and everything goes, you just let it all out?
That is the hope. And I think I feel like we did that to a degree on two weeks ago. And I think defensively we did that this past week. I think it's been 2 weeks now. And so I think, the inconsistency is just not acceptable. And it's just not something that, anytime you have to, say who you are, then that's not it. The play has to justify it. And so I think for us to get offense, defense, special teams to where, the execution is where it needs to be, I think is the next step. And I know that, this game at this time and the whole thing is going to be a great call for guys to step up their play, and coaches included. And so we're excited for that.
Is that something you take personally when it's inconsistent? The whether it's the play, the emotions, or whatever.
Yeah, I think so. I think the most of everything we talk about is through consistency. And so I just feel like when you're working with people doing their first time through something, in this stage being the first opportunity to be in a stage like this, I think you're going to have these ups and downs. But I think as a whole, the coaching staff's commitment and connection with our players is pushing them to a new level, and so I'm excited to see what that looks like.
Last thing, I asked Mac Brown this question. He went through a lot of coordinators. You've been through a couple of changes. Mm-hmm. When you do that, is there also the concern that if that doesn't work, mm-hmm. then you look around and the room is empty and you're the only one left in the room?
I understand that, and I appreciate that question. I think for me, it's probably a little bit more of, when I first got here and I'm hiring guys, and it's, my agent's talking to me. I've got, people here talking to me, and I didn't know enough of who I was to say, hey, this is someone that would be good for me. That would be good for the program. I didn't know enough of that. And so, I think to kind of learn that on the run is not pleasant. And then this is on the other side of that. And so I just feel like the guys that we've got now are guys that fit the program, fit me, fit the kids. And I just feel like we're going to continue to get better and better and better. And so that's I wish that the learning wasn't so public and tough and just all of it, but that is what it is.
Final thing, would you feel like if this doesn't go well Saturday, and Texas is capable of blowing people out, mm-hmm. but how important is it, no moral victories, mm-hmm. how important is it for you guys to go out and play maybe your best game of the year? Is that possible?
I believe it is. Yeah, I believe it is. I think this team, the stuff that we've been through, it's the ideas are the failings and just the hard lessons and all of it. The whole idea with that is to get better. The whole idea of that is to apply it and to learn and get and step up a level because of it. And so that's what this is about, this next game.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it. Dave Aranda, Baylor football coach on 365 Sports.
Game Day Live, sponsored locally by TFNB, your bank for life, Central Texas Plumbing Solutions, and Centex Roof Systems.
At Dr. Smiley, you're always our top priority. Dr. Lee, Dr. Lim, and the friendly staff are committed to delivering exceptional and professional care in general, family, cosmetic, and emergency dental services. Get $2,699 implant, abutment, crown, 3D CBCT scan, and consultation with IV sedation available. Dr. Smiley accepts Medicaid and most dental insurance. Call Dr. Smiley today at 254-732-2606 and book your appointment now.
Hey folks, Derek Scott here with Jim Turner Chevrolet. September is the month to buy a Chevrolet truck. On every 2023 Chevrolet Silverado, you can take advantage of 0% for 36 months or as low as 3.9% for 72 months. Combine this with fantastic trade-ins, award-winning service department, and body shop, plus no gimmicks, it's a no-brainer. So give us a call, 254-840-3261 or 24/7 at turnerchevy.com. And remember folks, we're just a heartbeat away in McGregor. We'll treat you like family.
Texas Tech needs offense, and they just scored a touchdown, getting the extra point now with 12 minutes left. 13-9 West Virginia on the road in Morgantown. That's their first touchdown of the game. Baron Morton is now the quarterback. As we mentioned early, a long time ago, Tyler Shuck out for the game. We're now joined by Darby Brown. She's at McLean Stadium. Last time we saw her, the sun was beating down on her, and she was kind of getting ready for the night in what should be kind of a memory one way or the other for somebody. But Darby, your thoughts, is it starting to maybe fill up a little bit?
It is starting to fill up a little bit. I'm sort of looking at the student section as they start to come in. They are wearing black, so I am not intentionally matching with the student section. At the moment, they're all wearing black, which is, I know, kind of been a topic that we've all seen on social media this week, whether they were going to wear green and gold or black. Students so far, it is a blackout. The rest of the stadium, definitely seeing a good amount of that burnt orange, some green and gold. So, yeah, fans are starting to file in. They have the DJ going. The vibe is starting to get up here, and the players are kind of doing their pre-game early warm-ups right now.
So, Darby, what do you want to see early from this Baylor team?
Energy. I know that's something that can mean a lot of things, but you can just feel it. And last week it was not here. I want to see them just play on fire to start this game. And again, as I mentioned earlier, I mean, if you can't come out for energy with this one, I don't know what game they're going to come out with with energy for this season. So I want to see them just playing, with some fire and with some grit early.
Yeah, they need that. And I think with the fans there, we don't know the percentage. We've all brought that up. So have you, as far as the color scheme. Good Lord, if it's black or if it's green or it's gold or might be burnt orange, and might be a lot of it too. But just maybe be engaged from the beginning. What do you think? What's it going to take? Give me a player other than Sawyer Robertson has to take care of the football. Is there anyone in particular, a couple of names that you think must be really good today for Texas or for Baylor to have a chance against UT?
Yeah, I mean, I think you want to see Richard Reese have a good game. He's shown signs this year that looks like, last year he was kind of the freshman that was on fire. And this year he's shown signs of sort of some good things, some not some good things. So I'd like to see him have a good game, and I think that, that would be big. And then the offensive line is, just within a general group, really going to be tested today. Texas's defensive line is incredible. So I think, in general, that group, you'd like to see them protect Sawyer, I think, is a bigger, almost bigger than Sawyer. That is going to be a big thing.
All right, so you mentioned the black is there, and there has been this tug of war. It seemed like almost every home game, Darby. Your thoughts about it? It just seemed like nothing is ever on the same page.
Yeah, I think it's just a storyline amongst Baylor athletics that I just don't understand it. I guess I don't know. I haven't been around long enough, but I don't get it. And to be honest, the blackout, I don't want to say it right now because, I mean, the fans are wearing black, so it's sort of happening. But, I mean, we know that the Kansas State game was the game they decided to do blackout last year. That did not go well.
No.
So, I mean, I'm not really sure what's the big, I guess just people obsessing over the blackout. I don't really understand. I know it's, in the past it was great. Last year it was not. So, I don't know, but I'm not sure really what the deal is with that. I think it's, regardless, I just hope the fans are here and I hope they're engaged in general.
Yep, and hopefully that if you're a Baylor fan, you want the football team to help them sustain it. Thank you, Darby, as always. A couple of great cut-ins with Darby at the McLean Stadium, as we do every week, of course, here on the CW. We're taking you up until 5:30 today. You have heard from J.J. Joe, Darby Brown a couple of different times, also Dave Aranda, and a couple of other notes with even Roger Wallace, who's the color analyst for UT Radio. Paul and Craig, we are counting it down. Garrett Ross, great job again today running the mothership. So I think we all agree that Baylor could go out and play a clean game, and that still not be enough. Is it that UT has to play a sloppy game for this thing to have a chance for Baylor too?
Yeah, but I think Baylor has to muddy the waters quite a bit if they want to. They got to make some crazy things happen. Block punt, pick six, fumble recovery, scoop and score, sacks. All that has to happen. They've got to make sure. Remember the Titans where the assistant coach was like, they need to remember the night they played the Titans. That's kind of the vibe they need to have, to where, they've got to fight for every yard. I know it's old school and cliche, but they absolutely have to make that happen because Texas has the kind of athletes that if you let them get loose and confident, you're going to be looking at the back of their jerseys all night long.
Absolutely.
So you got to muddy the waters and create some big plays, some quick changes, all those things. That's how you stay in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I agree because I think that at their best, Texas is a better team. At their very best, their maximum potential versus Baylor at their very best and their maximum potential. I think that the difference comes down to the athletes that Texas has overall. I mean, just look at their wide receiving core, for example. So you're not going to out-talent them. Now, you can out-execute them. You can outplay them. And I think you can out-energize them even. And that's where those elements are going to be so important because those are the areas that you can win. You can win the turnover battle, but you're not just going to go straight up head-to-head with them and just out-big play them. I don't feel like on most days. So, yeah, you got to do the little things that you haven't done well. You got to play your best game, and I think you do have to hope that they trip on themselves a little bit. But if they do, if Quinn Ewers does throw an interception, you've got to turn that into points. You can't turn that into a 3-and-out and then give them the ball back. You've got to take advantage of their miscues, and you've got to capitalize on the opportunities that you are given to win this game. And I think it's definitely doable. I don't think it's likely, but it's doable. But they've got to play as clean as they've played all year, and they've got to hope that Texas plays more of like the Rice style or
the first three quarters against Wyoming.
First 3 quarters against Wyoming. You hope that Texas shows up. My concern with that is that Texas kind of got that wake-up call last week of like, you didn't play well and you had to pull away in the fourth quarter. I think they understand starting Big 12 play, going on the road. They know it's a hot crowd, that they're going to be laser-focused, I would imagine. So not sure how many miscues they'll have, but you got to take advantage of them.
The goal of Baylor should be everybody in a burnt orange T-shirt in the stand should be going, why is this happening?
Right, yeah.
Like, that's what you need because just absolute confusion and befuddlement is what you need from Texas because, like you said, Craig, if you're gonna play your very best game, if it's gonna come down to who plays their very best, if they're both hitting that, then Texas is gonna win the game. But if you can completely make this ugly, then you've got a shot.
And you've got to make Texas work for their scores because they are talented enough to string together drives. But really, where they've been great is they are big play guys. They are the big play. They are the 70-yarder, the big explosive. They are not like, let's grind out 12 plays. They can do that. They've done that before, but that's not really what they've done consistently. They have been more of a feast or famine type on offense. So, I'm very curious. Baylor's cornerbacks have been kind of the bright spot early, but we haven't seen them get a ton of pressure as a defense. We haven't seen them get a ton of turnovers as a defense. Today would be the day to do that, to pull off the big upset.
Well, if you haven't done it for 3 weeks, it's going to be hard to see all. And I mentioned this when we have the prediction page on the website. Texas has created 6 turnovers, and they have turned it over 1 time. So if you're pretty good, and then you lead a +5 right now in the turnover ratio, that makes you even better. That's what Baylor needs. They're not able to get a lot of that themselves. The picks against Utah turned out to be incredibly costly and eventually ended up costing them that game. they have to create where they have a +2 or so when it comes to the turnover ratio. If they're in any minus level, then this thing could get ugly. Do you have the feeling, Garrett, at all in a game like this that you almost like if you're a fan of the team that's going in against somebody that's heavily favored, 15.5 points, which is kind of surprising to me. It's not larger than that. That like, hey, can we just make this competitive? This is no win one, like be nice and just barely lose. This means you go out and play your you know what's off. And this is not like let's keep it close. If they try to keep it close, they're going to get drilled.
Yeah, I think this is a situation where you got to understand you're a heavy underdog. And if to me, it's the underclassmen have an opportunity to really make a name for themselves on a national stage. They've been the ones that have consistently brought the juice. And I think there's a lot of talent there, just kind of an untapped potential. But this is a perfect time to go out. Nobody is really counting on you. You have a primetime game on ABC. Just go out there, leave it all on the field. Play clean, disciplined football, though. Like, Texas is one of those teams where you can't get behind in the penalties or you can't do self-inflicted things. You really won't have a chance. But you just really got to play clean football at the end of the day and just make the most of it.
I know this. I've gotten text messages from a lot of different the Baylor fans the last couple of days. We're going to win this weekend. And I know that's more hope than probably reality. But, hey, if in fact something crazy happens today and Baylor wins, then, man, there's going to be a lot of people that said, I'm the one that predicted that. Some on our website, in fact, predicted that. But they've been predicting Baylor to win every game since the season began. All right, give me a name, Texas. We know Ewers. We know about Worthy. Well, the running back position, the young man that kind of gets overlooked is Brooks. He had 160-plus yards against Wyoming. Give me a name. I'll tell you what, the Sanders, the tight end. If you're a defensive coordinator, you just have to know where he is.
You're about to name them all.
Yeah, no, but I was going to say Jatavian Sanders, he's a matchup nightmare. And when I say, I'm not trying to just single out Baylor, there's not, maybe 4 guys in the whole country that can match up defensively toe-to-toe with them. And they may not ever play any of those guys this year, when it comes down to it.
Right.
So, yeah, round for round, having to probably cover him with a safety or a linebacker is going to be a nightmare for most teams. So he was the one I was going to say, especially when they get down in the red zone. He's just so big and athletic.
Yeah, I think Jonathan Brooks is a good candidate because they haven't really got their running game going. It seems like today would be a good day to do that. It's just their pass game has been more of their explosive and scoring abilities. But Adonai Mitchell, that's another guy who just seems to have a knack for if you need a crucial touchdown at a crucial time in a game or even a couple of them, he's going to be the guy that scores in the fourth quarter late and gives you the lead or extends your lead and seals it away. He's just got a knack for that. And, you're worried about Worthy, you're worried about Sanders, you're worried about the backs, and then you've got that guy, who's also back there. So, man, it's a pick your poison, and I'm curious to see what Dave Aranda picks.
All right, and we're going to update the Big 12 here in a minute, but they do go deep. Some people say it's not as efficient, but Mitchell caught a couple of deep balls. Worthy, of course, against Alabama.
It's just one of those where you could get a stop, and then you feel like you're in it, and then they just hit that one play just like that because they just have so many playmakers, and Mitchell in particular.
If Baylor won this game, would you be stunned?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I kind of have that. I feel only mainly because of what we haven't seen from Baylor. By the way, West Virginia just scored again to come back from what Texas Tech did. That game now 19-10, extra point to come, 7:30 to go. And BYU is down 8 in the fourth quarter against KU with 8 minutes to go. Will be interesting. Let's give our predictions. I'll start with mine. I almost positive I thought I said 38-20 Baylor. I said the only way they have a chance to win this game is if they win the turnover ratio. And as I said earlier, Texas is a +5 in the turnover ratio.
I said 52-10, and so I'll keep with that.
I said 37-24. I don't know exactly how Baylor scores 24 in this game. But I just feel like the crowd's going to be part of this, and they're going to just play their best game. So 37-24, Longhorns win by a couple scores.
I think Garrett said 52-9 or something like that.
63-9.
Thanks to Darby Brown, Garrett Ross, Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina. I'm David Smoak. Thank you. This is Game Day Live.
The time to save on new furniture is now during Du Bois Furniture's end of summer sell-off. Sell-off savings store-wide, plus secret in-store discounts, plus special financing. This is a great time to buy new furniture. Now at Du Bois Furniture.
For over 40 years, Hope Pregnancy Centers has championed parents facing unplanned pregnancy with crucial life-affirming resources. We are looking for 350 donors at $30 monthly to provide over 2,000 free life-revealing ultrasounds to moms and dads when it's most critical. Your support of Hope shows every woman and unborn baby that they are valued and